And again, thank you for joining us. Here at Mentor Virginia, as I'm sure you know, it is our mission to foster quality mentoring relationships that empower, elevate, and encourage the young people in our lives. You'll see a few of my colleagues on the call. Cindy Montalavo is our AmeriCorps Vista leader. If you have any AmeriCorps needs, you can reach out to either Cindy or Tashara Void, who is, excuse me about that, who is our program director for AmeriCorps. Virginia Patterson is on the call. She is our Youth Impact Coordinator. And Miss Virginia here is leading our Youth Advisory Council. So if you have any youth in your program you feel like may be good candidates or interested in learning more, you can reach out to Virginia. Also, who's possibly on the call, Kinshasa Samuel, who takes care of our marketing and PR. And last but not least, Miss Sarah Wilkinson, our program manager, who takes care of almost everything. All right, and again, today, we will be talking about critical mentoring. And so thank you for typing your names and your organizations into the chat box. Please go ahead and also type what brought you to this particular meeting. And if anybody wants to come off mute and share what brought you to this meeting or what questions you have about, I see a typo, critical mentoring, please let us know. What brought you to the chat about critical mentoring today? Raven, I heard a baby. You had me sold. Did anybody have anything to share about why they were here?
I am here because I saw Miss T as a presenter, so I knew it was going to be phenomenal. So here and present.
Awesome, awesome. A new intern joining to meet folks. Okay, intern with Pretty Purpose. That's awesome. That's awesome. And first event. Oh, that's what I said. We got some collaborators on the line. Okay, so without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. Our hosts, I'll be hosting for the day, but I'm joined by two guest panelists who also happen to be trainers and consultants for Mentor Virginia. Miss Bianca Myrick. And Miss Bianca, I'll call you up to the line so you can tell us a little bit about yourself, ma'am.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder and executive director of Pretty Purpose. So in a nutshell, Pretty Purpose is a nonprofit, and we empower girls through a variety of activities, but mainly mentorship and enrichment activities. In addition to my role at Pretty Purpose, I am the new executive director of the Virginia Association of Environmental Education. So we are the Virginia affiliate of the North American Association of Environmental Education. And so what we do is we do the work around championing sustainability. And I just like to tell people, let's get kids outside and let's get them engaged in environmental education. As you know, I'm a consultant with Mentor Virginia, and I do consulting on the side. I am an adjunct professor at Virginia State University, where I have the pleasure of teaching in the Department of Teaching and Learning, which I graduated from. So I get to teach educators who are interested in going into the nonprofit sector. And I am a board member for Collective 365. And everyone on this call, our grant application process is open. What we do is we are in the field of grant making for Black and Brown led organizations, nonprofits, businesses, individuals, and groups. So you don't have to be a nonprofit to apply for a grant. We're trying to, kind of leverage the playing field. I am also a mom to a 10-year-old. So youth work is very important to me. And when you become a mom, or in not even just, becoming a mommy, but anytime you're able to make close connections with youth, I feel like it just becomes a part of you. And something that I feel like is very important to mention is that I am a licensed Virginia teacher. So I have taught in the Virginia school system for 12 years, particularly Chesterfield County schools. So this work is very, very important to me. And I'm excited about making the shift out of the classroom, but I'm still excited about being able to engage in this work.
Thank you, Ms. Bianca. And also we have joining us Ms. Tammie Mobley.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am the founder of R.E.A.L Girls Responsible, Empowered, and Loved. It's an interactive empowerment program that provides safe spaces for girls to develop leadership skills and believe in their greatness. I am also a certified women empowerment coach and a certified girls coach. I just became trained as a master trainer for adverse childhood experiences, so I'll be doing some more of that. I am on the Leadership Council for Virginia Domestic and Sexual Violence, and also a task force member for Chesterfield County Domestic Violence Task Force. I was a youth program director for 7 years. Under my leadership, we started with 64 youth per academic year. At the time of me leaving that nonprofit organization, we were reaching 500 youth per academic year with my team. I am currently contracted through Richmond Public Schools with my organization. We do have 3 pillars to it, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And I'm also a radio personality. My show is Beyond Surviving with Tammie. It is a weekly show every Sunday on Rejoice 101.3, where we recognize, empower, and support survivors. Oh, and yes, I'm a mom. My son is a freshman at North Carolina A&T, so I always have to pull that plug in so I can be like, Aggie Pride. Yes, so that's me.
We cannot forget our babies, that is for sure. Shout out to all the parents on the call, and the future parents and the aunties and uncles. All right, so we have a lot to get into today with content experts. The reason we brought Tammie and Bianca to the stage is because of the type of programs and services that they offer. But really quickly, I did want to set the tone to provide a definition to folks who may be new to the thought or the concept of critical mentoring. As defined by Tori Weiston-Surdin in her book, Critical Mentoring, it is an augmented mentoring that has been shaped by a critical consciousness. And so mentoring is an element, as we all know, of youth development where you pair a person with more skills in one area with another person, whether it be a youth or a young adult who has less skills in that area, with the hopes that they will be able to forge a relationship that is useful for both parties, but primarily for the youth or the person who is trying to gain those skills. When it comes to critical mentoring, what critical mentoring is really giving us all language in this sector, telling us that mentoring needs to shift to be more about the youth and more about the communities that we serve, the communities that the youth and the families are from. And so some takeaways that we want to make sure you leave today with understanding about critical mentoring are as follows on the screen. First, it is a remixed way of thinking about mentoring in itself. Again, it's augmented past what we're doing for the youth to make sure that we're taking action alongside young people and bringing them to the table so that they can make decisions. Part of what Mentor Virginia likes to do or is trying to do in this area, as I mentioned from the start of the call, is start a youth advisory council so that youth can be part of the be decision makers and part of the commitments that we take on. Critical mentoring is also about helping youth construct powerful identities and gain valuable work experiences that they can use in legitimate ways. And so it's not about changing their circumstances or changing their surroundings, but making sure we help youth identify their strengths and be able to realistically exist in the neighborhoods that they live in. Because as mentors, we know that we can't always change the circumstances for our children or the children that we care about, but we can give them skills and we can help them invest in their own self-confidence so that they can create the futures that they want. Critical mentoring tells us that it's not about deficits. It's more so about recognizing, again, the skills that these proteges and these mentors have within them and giving them the liberty and giving them the processes to be able to build those skills and get past any struggles or challenges that might be going on in their lives. And then lastly, the last takeaway is going to be, it's about leveraging mentoring to address root causes. And so that buzzword critical, it is rooted in critical race theory. And that's because we want to be realistic about the systems and the structures of racism that has existed in history to make sure that we're talking to the kids about it and we're inviting them to the table to come up with realistic solutions. And again, wanted to just go about setting that tone before passing the mic on to Bianca and Tammie to talk about their programs and how they're meeting some of these characteristics of critical mentoring. Before I do pass the mic, I'm going to ask if there are any questions about understanding what critical mentoring is or understanding that shift that I just talked about. Any questions so far from the audience? All right, first up, Miss Bianca.
Yeah, so Tiara, I'm really glad that you kind of touched on how critical mentoring is rooted in critical race theory, because I think it's important to kind of lay the foundation for why, Pretty Purpose does, why we do the work that we do. Black girls and girls of color, but specifically Black girls, are quite often facing what is called adultification bias. So there was this Georgetown study that was done a few years ago. And from the study, from the research, it was founded that white adults actually view Black girls as needing less nurturing, less support, and as being less innocent than their white counterparts. Yeah, this is what came from the study. And so that view of Black girls leads to a lot of things, excessive punishment in schools. It just leads to poor outcomes across many indicators. And so we know that this isn't true. We know that Black girls, really those specifically that may be residing in under-resourced communities, actually need more nurturing and more support. Okay, so Pretty Purpose is basically there to stand in the gap. This is what we do, okay? And we do this through mentoring, but we also just do it through enrichment activities and just being there to provide a safe space for girls. So I just felt like, it was important just to kind of, lay some of that foundation. Additionally, where we are based in Southside Virginia, specifically in Petersburg, and then we serve rural counties like Dinwiddie and Sussex. We also serve Hopewell, South Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, but specifically Petersburg ranks number 133 out of 133 counties and localities in Virginia across several health indicators. Now, we know that number doesn't tell the whole story, but once again, some of our girls are residing in under-resourced communities, and I feel like that's important to point out. They're resilient, and they have families that are supportive, but the community and society is under-resourced and has failed them. So I just wanted to chat a little bit about that. But we have quite a few programs at Pretty Purpose. We have our mentoring programs, one-on-one mentoring and group mentoring. We also have school-based social emotional learning circles. So that's where our girls meet on a weekly basis during school, and they focus on social emotional learning competencies to build their self-esteem. So we also do curriculum development. This past year, we were developing some youth-led curriculum. We are in the process of doing some coalition development across the Southside Virginia region, and the coalition launch date is March 30th. And the goal of that is to strengthen partnerships. And then this year, we just launched our first youth advocacy cohort, where 6 of our girls, in partnership with Voices for Virginia's Children, they were able to learn advocacy and storytelling skills. And then they culminated this with Advocacy Day at the General Assembly, where they were able to actually engage with legislators with hopes of, impacting youth policy. So for the last few years, we've been very intentional just about making sure that we give our girls voices and that we include them in on our processes. And one way that we started doing that was in 2020, when we went through strategic planning, we included our girls in the strategic planning. So typically when you hear the word like strategic planning, you think of like, well, all these adults, board members, staff members coming to the table, but really our biggest stakeholders are our girls. And so we made sure that we were intentional about including them in the strategic planning process through focus groups, interviews, and we brought everything that they had to say to the table when we were actually developing the strategic plan. Additionally, we try to make sure that we are getting consistent feedback from them. And so that's almost after every session. And then something else that we do is we like to do youth-led social change activities and community service. So our girls every year are planning multiple service and social change projects where through the process they get to, if you could go back a couple of slides, through the process, they are able to choose a focus area, choose a community, and they're able to plan the entire project. So they do the marketing, they do the budgeting. Even last year, they applied for like a little mini grant with the Community Foundation. And they were so excited to get that $500. And that was their budget. And they were able to do their community service activities. So we try to do a lot of project-based things. And I mean, for me as an educator, I love project-based and problem-based learning. So I like to implement things like that into our programming. But in addition to that, and you can go to the next slide, we've been developing some youth-led curriculum. So we have actually adapted the Girls Circle curriculum and a few other curriculums to our programming. And so we had our youth involved in that process. Where they are telling us, no, these are the activities that we want to do. Well, this language sounds a little bit off. Well, I think we should do this way. They're involved in that. And so our goal with the curriculum is that after we finish piloting it this year, we're going to get some more feedback from the girls. And we would like to finish our evaluations and edits, and then of course, scale it and potentially put it out there for communities to use, you know, who may be doing small groups and other girls programming. And then our advocacy cohort this year, I see Latoya is on the call. Latoya is a long-term mentor for Pretty Purpose, and she actually led our advocacy cohort alongside Voices for Virginia's Children this year. And she did a wonderful job in doing that. Now, Voices for Virginia's Children, they're a nonprofit that specifically focuses on advocacy for children, and they have a youth advocacy cohort that they started last year. Chloe Edwards, she kind of spearheaded that. And so this was their second year, and we partnered with them. We said, you know what, we want our girls to have a voice and start to get into this youth advocacy thing. And we thought that partnering with them, the experts, would be a great idea. And so they just went through that. And it was a good experience for them. And we're looking forward to doing it again next year. They were able to earn a $500 stipend as well. And so, you know, we've really been trying to make sure that our girls' voices are heard and that they're included in our decision-making, governance, you know, that they're just being included in those processes because it is about them. And so, you know, when I think about moving forward, you know, how we want to include them, we definitely realize that, you know, we definitely want to get them included in more storytelling activities, specifically some of our younger girls. And we definitely want to do some sort of advisory board, or either have some of our girls to come into our board meetings. That's something that we are putting on the table when we think about programming next year, having them come into our board meetings and, you know, be a part of that governance process. So we don't know how we want to do that. We don't know if we want to do it through a youth-led advisory board, or do we just want to start bringing a group into the board meetings? I don't know. Maybe we need to consult with Mentor Virginia about it. But, that's a little bit about Pretty Purpose and how, we've been making sure that we are youth-led and incorporating their voices and really giving them a stakehold in the programs. So we serve girls ages 9 to 18. Yeah, so our group mentoring program is for girls ages 9 to 14. Our one-to-one mentoring program is for high school age girls. Our school-based social emotional learning circles are 4th grade, 5th and 5th grade. And then our advocacy cohort, that was only open to girls who are 8th grade and up, because it can be like a little bit intimidating, like for like little ones to have to speak to like legislators. But we are thinking about some ways that we can, just get the younger girls involved in advocacy efforts in a more strategic way as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bianca. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that fact that you shared with us on the research findings and how you tied everything together with telling us the stories about how you're really taking action to bring in your youth to help you make decisions. We will have time for a larger question and answer at the end, but right now, while it's fresh in your minds, does anyone have any immediate questions for Bianca or any questions about Pretty Purpose?
Do all your young people, your ladies, participate in your strategic planning process? And if so, just a brief of what that looks like.
Yeah, so our first strategic planning was in 2020. We're only 5-6 years old. And so what that looked like for us, and we'll be coming up on strategic planning again in about another year. So what that looked like for us was we had to do stakeholder interviews and identify all of our stakeholders. So some of our stakeholders were parents, school members, school personnel, community members, and just different people who really have a stakehold in our organization. And so we also interviewed our girls. We did focus groups. We interviewed their parents. We invited them to strategic planning sessions. Now, no, we did not invite them to the implementation plan session. I mean, come on, that is a drag. But all of the things leading up to strategic planning, I had a voice in, and we mainly did it through interviews and focus groups, and then showing them a draft of the strategic plan and asking them, like, what does this look like? Do you feel like this incorporates some of the things that you have been saying, the basic gist of where you see Pretty Purpose going? And so our strategic planning process was facilitated by the Spark Mill. I don't know if you all have heard of the Spark Mill. Their consultant agency in Richmond. And we tried to get all of our girls, we tried to get as many as possible. At that time, we had a Sussex site, and we had a Petersburg community site. And then we also had like 3 school-based learning circles going on. So at that time, we had people from the strategic planning team going out to do the focus groups and interviews. So we tried to get as many voices as we could.
Thank you for that clarification. So at this point, your young people had already been serviced by your organization to be able to gather that type of data. I'm thinking in terms of our Youth Advisory Council as a startup. So I think our focus would be basically based on what they believe the needs are, their perceptions of that, because again, we don't have any initial data to stand on at this point. So that was my wonder.
Yeah, I think that's fine too, because we're actually with this youth-led curriculum, we're getting feedback from our girls and getting their input as well. However, we are partnering with several schools to get some feedback from girls that have not been serviced from our program as well for the curriculum. So I think that's great.
Thank you very much. And we will again have another larger question and answer towards the end. Do want to call up Miss Tammie Mobley next to tell us a little bit more about her business and her programs.
Yes, thank you. So I am the founder of Real Girls, Responsible, Empowered, and Love. Real Girls is an interactive empowerment program that provides safe spaces for girls to foster healthy relationships, develop leadership skills, and believe in their greatness. So that young lady there, she is actually one of our original Real Girls. Real Girls actually only started in 2019, so I'm fairly new. But since 2019, we have provided programming to 280 girls because I am contracted with Richmond Public Schools. Currently, we are in 4 middle schools. And over the summertime, we were actually in elementary school and middle schools. So you could go to the next slide. So again, we have 3 different program models, and we have one that we are in Richmond Public Schools with middle schoolers. We work with primarily girls from 6th to 8th grade. And I said, like right now, we are in 4 schools: Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School, River City Middle School, Lucille Brown, and Thomas Henderson Middle Schools. So I'm contracted with a company called Next Up R.E.A. And what Next Up is, they provide, they bring in community partners to provide enrichment programs to students in Richmond Public Schools. And they do it through sessions. So right now we are in the middle of our winter session. So we have a fall, winter, and spring session. So through these sessions, we are in the schools and we provide like we were just saying, kind of like what Bianca does, empowerment session. This week actually is I'm going to say our winter session is labeled All About Me. And All About Me. So we started in January is just talking about me. We did vision boards, we did positive affirmation just to get to know us. This week is actually all about Black History Month. So we're talking about everything Black this week. I'm sorry, this week is everything Black. So what we are doing is I created a Jeopardy game, and the name of the Jeopardy game is Black Women in History. So we have different categories. We have women in rap, women in art, women in history. And it's 5 different categories. And the girls have just been having an amazing time doing it. And some of them I was a little surprised that they didn't know. And then some of them I was surprised that they did know. Like one of the questions was who this woman, because they did have to act like Jeopardy, like to say who is such and such. So it was this woman was the first Black millionaire and created hair care products. And it was like, Madam C.J. Walker. Well, who is Madam C.J. Walker? So I was just so excited to hear that they were just able to spit out these answers so quickly. So that's what we're doing this whole week. So you can go to the next slide. Our other model, which is fairly new, we just started it actually this year, is our ambassador program. So our ambassadors have been girls that have been part of Real Girls for the past, at least for a year. So I was primarily started in middle schools, and the girls that graduated from middle schools, they would call me and say, Miss Tammie, we want to be a Real Girls again, but I did not have anything to put them in. So I started an ambassador program this year, which is really amazing because these girls are the faces and the voices of Real Girls. They're high school girls, and these girls are all scholars. So these are true Black girl magic. These girls are honor roll students. I have one of them that just went to Arizona to participate in a gymnastics meet over the weekend. They are involved in community service projects. Also, one of my high school girls is actually a page in the city of Richmond right now. So she cannot even fully participate in as a Real Girls because she is doing things at the city. So she only comes home on Fridays and she leaves on Saturdays. So we've been meeting with her virtually. Our Big Sister Mentor program is that the collaboration actually with Pretty Purpose. And I'm going to give Bianca an opportunity to talk about that at the end. But that is a fairly new program that is starting in March. And I was approached by a housing community to go ahead and provide empowerment sessions to girls living in Chippenham apartments. But since my jam is usually middle and high school girls, I reached out to my very good friend Bianca and asked her if she would like to provide programming for the elementary school girls. So what we did was that she's going to provide programming to the elementary school girls, and I'll let her talk about the curriculum. But my girls, as Big Sister Mentors, will provide group mentoring for the elementary school girls. Under this program, the girls, again, are the faces and voices of real girls. They're high school girls. They're involved in community service activities and projects. And they're also scholars. So one of my high school girls actually is in a dual enrollment program where she'll be graduating from high school with her associate's degree. I also want to say, because again, I'm bragging because I'm an Aggie, that both of the girls that's seniors have been accepted to North Carolina A&T. And we will be taking a day trip to North Carolina A&T actually on February 20th, that we're going to go, since my son goes there, that we're going to get the ins and out of the campus instead of the regular campus view. Go ahead, you can go ahead, Sarah. That's just one of the ambassadors. We also, just like Bianca, provide youth voice. So in the first picture too, it is on my left. On the radio show, we did have girls that came and talk about how COVID was affecting them and how it was affecting them mentally, emotionally, physically. So they came on the show and actually spoke about that. And that was actually in the beginning of COVID when everything was virtual. In the middle where you see the two girls, that was actually just a couple of weeks ago. The radio show was On the Mic with Mike, and the Real Girls actually went on and talked about what the program is doing for them and how they're benefiting from the program. In the middle, again, that's actually the girl I was in the beginning, the face of Real Girls. But as I said, over the summertime, we did summer programming and I hired interns to go ahead and work. So the girls were actually able to work as high school students, providing classes to middle school girls. These were all paid internship positions. So each one of the youth received by the end of the summer, it was 5 weeks, either anywhere between $300 and $1,000, depending on how many hours that they worked for us. And this picture right here, we give them opportunities to use their voice and their skills and their talents. And because Zania graduated from cosmetology, because she graduated from cosmetology shoot school, she actually provided a cosmetology session for the girls. And then the last thing, this is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So all of the girls are sharing information and statistics on teen dating violence. So please follow at Real Girls on social media, and you'll be able to see everything that the girls are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tammie. You did not have to rush. Ms. Bianca, I do want to open up the floor to you if you wanted to add anything on, as Tammie said, about your collaboration.
Yeah, sure. First of all, Tammie, you are rock youth voice. So I told you what some of our goals were moving forward to specifically get some of our younger girls out there. So we're gonna be getting some ideas from you. Yeah, I'm loving it. But this collaboration, I was so excited when Tammie approached me because, like she said, she primarily works with middle and high school. And Pretty Purpose, when we first started, we started with middle schoolers, but we love our elementary babies. And part of that could be because, you know, I'm an elementary teacher at heart. So we were just so excited when she asked us about this because, you know, this gave us an opportunity to get into another community, but we've always been wondering about like that peer-to-peer mentoring model. And so being able to have, you know, her girls to be mentors to our younger girls is going to be really exciting. But as I stated before, Pretty Purpose is doing some coalition building where the primary goal of the coalition is to strengthen partnerships. So we want to do partnerships well. And so Tammie and I, you know, we partner a lot with each other just as thought partners, but also like I know Tammie's going to be coming in to do some teen dating workshops for Pretty Purpose. We do things like that, but this is more of a strategic partnership. And so we actually were able to sit down together and kind of map out, you know, some of the parts of her programming, some of the parts of Pretty Purpose programming, and figure out the best way to bring that together, not just programming wise, but resource wise as well. So we are excited about being able to strategically partner with hopes that as far as the coalition is concerned, that that's something that could be used as a model for other organizations and programs and girl groups that are coming into the coalition and that are interested in doing partnership, but not just doing partnership for the sake of saying, you know, can you do this for my organization? I'll do this for your organization. Let's just get this funding, but really the art of true collaboration and attempting to do partnership well. So we're just really excited. Tammie is a certified Girl Circle facilitator, right? So I told you about how we have adapted the Girl Circle curriculum to our programming. So Tammie is going to be the perfect facilitator. She's already trained in Girl Circle, and then she's going to be there to support her girls and being the peer, the mentors for some of our younger girls. So I think it's going to be a good fit. And when we were putting the schedule together of activities that we're going to do for this location, we're like, oh, I do that activity with Pretty Purpose. And Tammie's like, well, we do this. And so we're figuring out like, okay, which one we're going to use. And I think it's just going to be a really good example of strategic partnership.
Thank you both. Thank you both.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to piggyback off of Bianca just to say that we believe in empowering our girls. So all the girls that participate as a Real Girls ambassador or mentor receive stipends. Because as an entrepreneur, I don't have a nonprofit. Mine is a community-based program, but I do coaching. That, you know, as an entrepreneur, I know we say, pay me my worth, or my time is valuable. So I project that onto the girls that's a part of the program. They do have to fill the application and they do have to go through training, but I want to let them know that they are worthy also. Like we are paying them their worth as well. So at the end of, so it's a 6 months with all the girls actually part of this cohort. Each one of them will receive a $200 stipend at the end of it. But we also are doing so many other things. I've recently got a partnership with Virginia State University that my girls are writing about their experience in Real Girls. And after that, each of my girls, Virginia State is paying them $80 just to write this paper. So I look for opportunities for them all the time, for them to grow, for them to develop, and for them to use their voices. And that's exactly what we're doing with this collaboration.
Thank you, and thank you for getting the crowd rowdy. There are some comments for you in the chat. Again, two great examples of what critical mentoring could be if you personalize it for the youth in your orbit and the youth and communities that you want to serve. Are there any questions for Tammie or for Bianca?
I just think both of the programs are amazing, especially for myself that is trying to see where I'm going to start. So this has helped me a lot. But my question is, because Tammie, I wanted to start out as an LLC, and that was really what I wanted to do because I'm hearing the nonprofit is so much more work or whatever per se. But my question was that stopping me, if it's not too personal, how do you get funds from, because my thing is I wanted to do an LLC and still get request funding, you know, from outside, get people to donate, but I don't want that to be counted as my income because it really wouldn't be, because it would be geared to the program. So what do you do? Like to get funding, or do you use your own monies, or what do you do?
So actually, I am funded through Richmond Public Schools, which funds Next Up, when Next Up funds me. And a lot of people ask me that question and say, how did I get in there, you know, for it to be so successful? But I was a youth program director for a very long time. So kind of everybody knew my work. So it was an easier outlet for me to get into the school. So I was really encouraged. Are you in the Richmond area as well, or you're outside?
I'm in Prince George.
In Prince George. I would see if there is a funding partner that could get you in there, because Next Up has absolutely been amazing with me. That they pay. I have a staff right now that works for me as well. Yeah, they have 3 staff that work with me, and like over the summertime, it was actually 7 youth that I had hired and a lead person. So I do have funding for that. Bianca is. I just got a new contract with Virginia Department of Health. Bianca is going to be my fiscal sponsor for that. And then just because you're not a nonprofit doesn't mean that people can't provide sponsorship and pour into you when they know that you're passionate about something.
And I
Thank
do
you.
want to mention again, I'll bring up the screen in just a moment, that Bianca and Tammie both are consultants for Mentor Virginia. And so we do provide no cost technical assistance that they are both available to participate in. Just from signing up today, we can reach out to you and make sure you have information on that. We do have the screen shows all of our consultants with different specialties. But again, just being on this call, if you're interested in some of the programming or learning from Tammie or Bianca particularly, there is that process of technical assistance that you can participate in to work with them for up to 6 months to build out any element of your program that you identify that you want to work with them on.
Yeah, I just started that today. I had a meeting, my second meeting with Sarah, so I'm excited about that. Yeah. Okay.
That's awesome. I also saw there was a
Make sure you ask for Bianca or myself.
I know it's either one of you two. I'm like, I don't know. That's why I came on today to hear you.
there's a hard split, but you said they're friends, so you know you might have access to both in some way.
Yeah, no,
Virginia is
seriously.
here to help. We want to be a catalyst, and we're family, and so this is a shift for all of us. We've identified 2 partners who are doing it really well, and they know other women and other organizations and other men who are doing things just as well and just as remarkable. So please share information and reach out. Really quickly, just to stay on time, we do have another question in the chat. How would you encourage effective marketing or credible partnerships? Shauna, did you want to ping that to any one of the women in particular?
It doesn't have to be, but and it's really stemming from the question that was just asked as well. So for those who don't want to recreate the wheel and they would rather partner with, those that are already doing it, how would we solicit to attract those type of people?
Yeah, so I'll kind of speak to the partnerships question. So when you think about partnership, I think you definitely want to identify, like you said, who are the people who may already be doing the work, and is there a specific niche, or is there a specific area that you can serve or support in that's not being served? Because the reality is like we can't serve everyone. Like one nonprofit can't serve everyone, one business can't serve everyone. And so all programs and services and businesses and nonprofits are needed, but I definitely think there's an opportunity for some resource mapping to figure out, like, okay, where are the spaces that we can operate in, and how can we come together to leverage resources? When it comes to like whether the partnership is credible or not, I think relationship building is key. Because when you build relationships, like it's just easier to partner because that trust is there. And that you have each other's best interest in mind and the best interest of the people in mind. And partnership is give and take. It's give and take. It's not just one organization or program or business pouring into another. It's like this dance of give and take. And so I would definitely say, building relationships with organizations and businesses that you may be interested in partnering with first, and then exploring the idea of partnership. And, like sometimes when Tammie and I meet, and it might be like about a specific something, like we'll just talk about like, well, this is what I feel like we could bring to the table. Like, these are the strong areas we have here, and these are the areas that are some growth opportunities. And, like, we'll kind of talk about that to potentially map out what it could look like. But I would definitely say building a relationship, and then, you know, also being sure that it's not a one-sided thing. Like it's not a take. And, you know, as far as reinventing the wheel, like when we kick off with the coalition building, we're starting off our meeting with strategic planning. And doing a community assessment. And then we want to move into like some resource mapping to see like what areas are not being served, or is there a program that's serving this area that like we don't know about. I think that is key so that people aren't stepping over each other's toes, or, you know, there's not this pull on, you know, resources. And then funders want to see partnership anyway. That's like typically a standard, that's like a standard question that I see on applications. And so like, I've had this experience where people have asked like, can we partner with you on a grant? But then they just put our name on it. And like, then we don't hear anything from them. So like, that's what I mean about like, no, it happens all the time. You know, they'll like list you down as a partner, but like, you don't really hear anything from them, or
Tammie's
so
face says it all, folks. Look at Tammie's face right now. It says it all.
no, I mean, like, and sometimes I don't think people do it to be disingenuous. Like, I really genuinely think like maybe they have intentions of partnering, and like then they get the money and da 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 da. But just when you're able to build that relationship, also having an MOA, or some people call it an MOU, that clearly outlines roles and responsibilities. So the last partnership that we really did when we did this coalition building curriculum grant, it was in partnership with Voices for Virginia's Children, Crater Health District, and Communities in Schools, right? And so we did MOAs, clearly outlined a work plan and put people's name beside the work plan, who's supposed to do this. And one of the entities kind of just said to us like, you don't have to pay us because we already do this work. And they just said, hey, you all take all of the money because like y'all are a small part-time staff of 3. And we are all organizations, like one's a state organization, like just having those conversations to clearly flesh out everything, I think really makes a difference.
And I want to make one point off of what Bianca just said. Remember, we're in the mentoring field, and it's easy for us to think of youth mentoring or individual mentoring. Organizations can mentor one another also, and it's not necessarily just the individuals in that organization. And that sounds like a perfect like relationship of an organic mentoring experience between organizations that happened. Critical mentoring is about keying in on what is really needed, focusing in on the root causes, and then identifying if you have interest, ability, and partnerships to be able to solve some of those problems or fill some of those gaps. And we're able to be creative about it because fortunately, in a lot of our lanes, we're not tied to some of the bounds that the school teachers are tied to. And so there's a lot more flexibility to connect with the kids on a deeper level.
I love that you mentioned that, Tiara, because I've literally been in spaces where I feel like I've had mentors just because I'm working with organizations that may, you know, be more established, they have bigger budgets. And it's just been a wonderful thing as well. So thank you for mentioning that. As a matter of fact, for that grant, we were pretty transparent in the interview that this would be new and an innovative work for us. And like, there's that key buzzword like innovation that like funders like to use. And we were like, hey, this would be innovative for us because we've never done this before. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, folks.
I also want to say that and make sure I like what Bianca said, to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. I spoke to someone that has a STEM organization, but she's a nonprofit. And the thing that she was saying, I just reached out to Sarah and said, I think that Bianca would be a great TA consultant for her, and knowing like when to let go, that you don't have to hold on to everything and you don't have to have everything all in your pocket. And the last thing I'm going to say real quickly, because I saw that question as marketing, like my girls and myself are on social media every day. So everyone knows who Real Girls is. And when they are out there, they have something with Real Girls on our shirt, our mask, or whatever. We have a Real Girls chant. So even when we're in the schools, like our girls are singing a chant through the schools, so everyone knows who a Real Girl is. So I'll definitely say step up your social media game if you do not have one.
And as Tammie pointed out, those girls may be better at it than some of us on the call. Not calling you out, I'm calling myself out. But they are part of solving these issues and challenges for us. And so they can take on some of those responsibilities and may have better skills at it than me. Let me just be real. Just wanted to show you this also. If you are interested in sending your program information or your new program once it's established to the Mentor Connector so that it can be found widely across the state, you can send in information directly to myself or Sarah, or you can go to the Mentor National website and enter in your information. You'll be able to get to a page that looks like this. I apologize. I am not sure why the Spanish version is posted, but the page will look like this. And again, you can put your information in there. If it's easier for you, however, you can forward that information to Sarah or myself. In our final moments, I'll bring us all together so we can be face to face, box to box, and just ask if there are any final questions.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys so much for putting this together. It was very insightful. Can we have a part 2? That's my question.
We will see what we can do. We have so many talented people in our orbit and on our team. We're looking forward to highlighting as many of them who would like to come to the table. Please continue to, share your information, share your ideas, share your input. You will be getting a survey after we conclude. And so put that on there if you'd like a part 2, just to be able to have more time with these 2 individuals to learn a little bit more about critical mentoring. We do try to make coffee hours what you request of them. And just like today's midday mocha hour, we're trying to be inclusive to as many schedules as possible. And so the good news is we're not going away. Bad news is there's only 12 months in a year. So we got to sift through what we're going to work out and introduce in the coffee hour. I'm going to make one more call for any final questions. If you don't have any final questions, I would say ask if we can all come off of mute and give our guest panelists some love today and some appreciation. Thank you guys for showing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Showing up and telling us what you do. I hope this did put some spunk back into your day and motivate you a little bit more to get over the hump into the weekend. All right, well, take care. Thank you for joining us. I am going to stay on the call in case there are any final questions.
I will stay on for a minute too.